So this week we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take a break from the rat rod project and I'm going to put together a pedal car out of some old Cadillac fenders and some trailer tires and some Mustang tires. And I'm doing this because I have a little niece who's about to turn 2 and she really likes cars. So we're going to get her set up with a really fun pedal car. So let's go ahead and dive into some time lapses as I turn these parts behind me and some bicycles and all kinds of fun stuff into a fun little pedal car. All right, well, let's talk about the little pedal car we've built here. So what this originally began as was a pair of 1956 Cadillac front fenders that I cut down the middle, and then I grafted it across here and then down there. You can kind of see the welding line there, and fused it into one, so I have this one monolight shape. And then around back, I cut up a couple of chunks of old 56 Cadillac hood that I'd already used a few pieces off of. It was kind of a rusty hood. And I fused a couple pieces from that Cadillac hood together to create this rear section of the body. And then the framework is all just some metal rectangular tubing. I used some rod ends for both sides to create the bearing for the axles, and I built the axles out of some leftover strut parts. And then in the front, what I used to create the front axle was, again, a couple of rod ends here and here. And then I cut up some Fox Body Mustang 4-lug hubs that I had lying around to create my hubs, and that allows me to have a nice real bearing on both sides. And then I used some over-the-counter ends and bolts to create my steering cross shaft. And then you can kind of see a little bit underneath, pedals in the back and everything. And I went ahead and used a set of trailer 4-lug tires and wheels up front. And then in the rear, I used Fox Body Mustang wheels for that. And I had this extra mirror sitting around, and also a couple of interior window molding pieces that I cut up to make like a windshield frame. And then inside, this is a real airplane yoke. And as you can kind of see, if you look down in there, there's the steering joints. Which is pretty cool. And there, and there. And then I used a old banana bike, cut that up to get myself a chain guard, pedals, the mechanism, the chain, and then I built an axle for the rear, again with another one of those rod end pieces. And that kind of covers all the major components of the little pedal car. And I did quite a bit of finish welding on it to make it all nice and clean and smooth, and I did quite a bit of grinding and smoothing as well to make sure that there's no sharp edges or anything like that, because my niece is little and we don't want her to get hurt with the car. So we did all that, and then one of the funniest stories of assembling this car over the last few days is that I put the steering together with the car upside down, and in the time lapse you'll notice I do the steering for the front once, and then another time lapse in I do the steering again, and then I cut it apart and do it a third time. And the reason why that happened is because when I was doing it upside down the first time, I accidentally did the steering mechanism backwards. So if you turn the wheel to the right, it would turn left, and if you turned it to the left, the wheels would turn right. So I had to correct that and change my steering geometry a little bit so that it actually turns the correct direction when you turn the wheel. But as you can see, it's all come together pretty well. I didn't go super crazy with painting it because it is a rat rod after all. I know she likes the color orange, so I went ahead and painted it orange, and I think over time it'll patina really nice and kind of fade out and look really cool. And I painted the front wheels here with a silver to kind of match the silver of the rear wheels. And as a fun little thing, if a person wanted to down the road, I left the holes in the side of the fenders where you could put original Cadillac script badges on there if you wanted to. So maybe at some point down the road we'll find some real 56 Cadillac emblems for it. And I just really love the little details on it. I V'd the front of the frame here to kind of match the shape of the fender, and also the traditional Cadillac V emblem, kind of just echo that as many places as possible. And when I did the paint, I went ahead and gave it a nice little racing stripe down the center, which kind of tidies things up really well and looks pretty sweet. And it's got that classic sort of big and little wheel and tire combo, and just a really neat looking little pedal car. Now I realize that this is probably pretty big for a 2-year-old, but she is actually a pretty tall and big kid already, and I think she'll grow into it quite nicely. And for now, she can have fun turning the wheel and getting pushed around and, checking herself out in the mirror, whatever she wants to do with it. And then over time, I can always add and modify and change things as she wants to. So pretty cool way of taking a bunch of old parts that I had lying around and turning them into a little pedal car. All in, I probably have around 36 hours put into this car, and although you can't tell it from the videos, it was pretty hot here this week in the 90s, at least a few of the days that I was working on it. So it was a long and strenuous project, but my niece is worth it, and I think she'll really have a lot of fun with it. So pretty cool. And it's also kind of fun with this little tiny car to sort of stand back and look at the rat rod build in comparison to it. As you can see, they're, sort of closely matched in a way, but the rat rod is already a tiny little car. It's probably about 13 feet or so long overall, and only a little bit over 4 feet tall for the rat rod. And then this thing is, about 3 feet wide in the front, about 6.5 feet long, and a couple feet tall. So the tiny little car and then the slightly bigger tiny car. Pretty fun to see the two of them together. And maybe one day, when my niece graduates from pedal cars, she'll want to drive a full-size car. Who knows? But a fun project. Nice to be able to do something with all the parts and pieces I had sitting around, and really fun to have it roll and steer, and just looks really cool. So super happy with the way this build turned out, and excited to see what she thinks of it. Well, that's going to do it for this week's video. I had a lot of fun with this project. Like I've said a couple times already, it was really cool to be able to take a bunch of parts and pieces that have been sitting around for a long time and do something with them. I really have always been into some of the classic car builders like Ed Roth, and I think that this is very Ed Roth, kind of Rat Fink, bizarro little pedal car, and I think my little niece is going to have a lot of fun with it. And it's fun to see like a smaller build kind of come together more quickly. It's nice to like be able to finish something for the YouTube channel. These bigger builds like the Rat Rod project, they take a lot of time and effort, so you don't get to see a complete project quite so quickly. So it's a lot of fun to be able to complete something, even if it's a smaller scale. And I just think that it's going to be really a lot of fun. When I was, a little kid, I thought that it would be just the coolest thing in the world to have like a real car. And you want to pretend and have a lot of fun when you're little. And I hope that this brings her many hours of happiness, enjoying playing around the backyard and whatnot. And maybe down the line I'll modify it. Who knows, if she decides she wants something with an engine, perhaps one day it could have that too. So it's been a lot of fun, and I hope y'all are doing well out there and staying cool, and we'll see you next time for probably some more work on the Rat Rod build. So have a good one.
Hey, we interrupt this normal transmission from Avery. This is Avery's wife, Claire, and I just wanted to add in here that our niecers absolutely loved this little pedal car. She's a tenacious little girl. She's very into the pedaling. She's still 2, so it's very hard for her to move it around. Any parents out there or aunts and uncles worried about this thing crushing her or anything, don't worry. She's way too small for it to move yet. The places that she's going to be able to ride it are grassy. There's no hills. And it's probably just going to sit there until we can push her around in it. And kind of takes a lot of force to push it at this point. But right now she's still little and she really loves sitting in it and steering the steering wheel and looking out the windshield. So she's really liking it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.